Welcome to Native America Calling. I'm Sean Spruce. Jock Soto had an early connection to ballet that took him from Gallup, New Mexico to the stage of the Lincoln Center at age 16. He became an acclaimed principal dancer with the New York City Ballet and a mentor to up-and-coming dancers. His legacy is being celebrated this weekend, and we'll hear from him this hour. We'll also talk to composer Jerod Tate about his work with a string quartet that balances native themes with classical textures. That's all right after the news.
This is National Native News. I'm Antonia Gonzalez. Some groups are sounding the alarm on potential scams that target people who are exposed to radiation linked to U.S. nuclear weapons, including Native Americans. As the Mountain West News Bureau's Yvette Fernandez reports, Congress approved and expanded funding to help the victims.
It was a big win for victims of radiation exposure when the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act was renewed and expanded to cover more states. Victims in Utah, New Mexico, Idaho, and parts of Nevada and Arizona are among those who can seek compensation. But many people find it difficult to qualify. That's because necessary documentation from the Cold War era is decades old, says Carmen Valdez with the nonprofit Health Environment Alliance of Utah.
These funds are meant to help ease people's pain and suffering and to cover medical bills and to ensure they're not suffering financially while also suffering from these diseases and cancers.
That's where scammers are finding opportunities. Valdez says some companies are charging fees up to 3 times the allowable $2,000. It comes as deadlines for claims approach in December of 2027, when the program is slated to end. I'm Yvette Fernandez.
Vaccination rates are declining across Washington state, and experts say this leaves Native communities vulnerable to dangerous disease outbreaks, especially heading back to school. Isabel Charlet reports.
According to the Washington State Department of Health, there have been 10 confirmed cases of measles in Washington in 3 counties this year. Wendy Stevens is with the American Indian Health Commission, which formed the nation's first tribal immunization coalition. She cites data showing that the measles vaccine reduces people's chance of getting the disease by 97%.
Getting measles immunization protects not only you, but your family, your community from spreading measles.
Vaccination rates have dropped to 87% among kindergartners in Washington. This is well below the 95% threshold needed to prevent outbreaks, according to the Washington Health Alliance. While most measles infections are not severe, health complications can occur in about 30% of cases, with about 1 in 1,000 infections leading to death. Stevens adds people need to stay up to date on what is happening with outbreaks in their area and advises getting any questions about vaccines answered by a doctor.
I would encourage people in Indian country to connect to their tribal health clinic, talk to their providers, and they can make decisions that they feel good about for their family.
As of May, the U.S. has reported over 1,000 measles cases, a 400% increase from last year, with almost all involving unvaccinated people. I'm Isabel Charlet.
The Southern Indian Ute Tribe in Colorado says it has not entered into any agreement with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, regarding detention operations. The tribe issued a statement this week to clarify its position after recent news reports listed the tribe as potential ICE facility sites. In a press release, the tribe said it was not notified nor consulted prior to the release of information regarding detention operations, and says there have been no discussions between the tribal council and federal authorities on the matter. In Oklahoma, Cherokee Nation Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. signed the tribe's first artificial intelligence policy Thursday. It establishes new guidelines for AI use across all Cherokee Nation departments. The policy outlines specific approved uses and strictly prohibits AI use without quality review involving the Cherokee language, which must receive backing and incorporation from Cherokee fluent speakers. I'm Antonia Gonzalez.
National Native News is produced by Koahnic Broadcast Corporation with funding by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Support comes from AirTalk Wireless, where individuals who qualify for the Tribal Lifeline program receive an iPhone or Samsung device, unlimited data, calls and texts, and international calling. Learn more at airtalkwireless.com/NNN.
Support by AARP. AARP creates and connects people to unique tools and programs, helps conserve personal resources, and tackles issues that matter most to individuals, families, and communities. More at aarp.org.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.
The International Museum of Dance is celebrating the decades-long career of Dene ballet dancer Jock Soto this weekend in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's been 20 years since Soto took his final bow on stage with the prestigious New York City Ballet. Since his retirement, he's been active as a choreographer and as a mentor to young dancers. We'll hear how he was handpicked to dance for the New York City Ballet by its founder at age 16, as well as his many celebrated performances with the company. Later in the hour, we'll talk with Chickasaw classical composer Jerod Tate about his collaboration with the Dover Quartet on a new album titled Woodland Songs. Of course, we also want to hear from you, our listeners. Have you followed Jock Soto's career over the years? What questions do you have about what it takes to break into a ballet dance company? You can join us by calling 1-800-996-2848. That's also 1-800-99-NATIVE. We've got the phone lines open now. Joining us from Santa Fe, New Mexico is Jock Soto. He is a ballet dancer, choreographer, and former principal dancer with the New York City Ballet. He is, of course, Dene. Jock, hello, and welcome back to Native America Calling. It's great to have you back.
Hi.
Well, this is really exciting. I mean, you've been recognized over many, many years for your contributions to dance. And now this weekend in Santa Fe, the International Museum of Dance will host an event celebrating your life and legacy. How does this feel, and what does this recognition mean to you?
It's actually very, very special. I was talking to my husband, and he's so tired of hearing me doing interviews and talking about myself. And I said to him last night, I said, I'm tired of talking about myself. And of course, tomorrow night, I'm going to be talking about myself. So it's been a lot, but it's really, really cool because of Joel Albert's at the Lenzik Theater. And what we're going to be doing is going to be kind of special. I have 4 dancers coming in from Ballet Taos and from Festival Ballet Albuquerque. And I think that it's going to be interesting. It's going to be cool. I mean, I love being in Santa Fe. I love being here. We got here late last night, so of course I'm exhausted. But I'm ready. I'm ready.
Well,
I'm a performer.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's when the curtain goes up, you're ready to go. Jock, you mentioned being tired of speaking about yourself, and I hope you're not too tired to talk about yourself today, because that's the plan.
No, I know. This is like the 10th interview I've done, so I'm ready.
Okay.
Ask me anything you want.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time, because I know how busy you are. Well, for the attendees who show up tomorrow, I mean, what do you hope that they take away from the event?
Just my life, what I've gone through. I'm 60 years old. I have gone through so much. I danced with New York City Ballet for so long, 24 years, and then I was living in New York for 38 years since I was 13. So I just want to inspire younger dancers and Native dancers who are aspiring to do something with their careers in the future. You know, I know you're talking to Jerod later, and he's such a wonderful, wonderful man and wonderful composer. And we're showing a film that we did 3 years ago, I think, with his music. And we did that with the O'Keeffe Museum, and it turned out to be really, really wonderful. And I'm looking forward to showing that. I'm looking forward to who shows up. I know that my friend Charmaine Jackson has been taking care of a lot of this stuff, and she's bringing in Native children, and it's kind of really exciting because I think my mom would be very proud that this is happening.
Mm-hmm. New York City since the age of 13, so you just a child when you made that trip and just embarked on this really historic career of yours. And Jock, you have a really good story about how you got into dance. You were inspired by seeing both native hoop dancers, but also a famous ballet dancer on the Ed Sullivan Show. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, that was Edward Villela, who's actually a friend of mine now. And I never thought that I would meet him. But when I saw him on television, I was hoop dancing with my mom. We were side by side at rodeos and powwows and stuff like that. And I was tiny, but she was the first Native American woman who did hoop dancing. And she taught me how to do it myself. But the thing about my mom was that she was so honest and she was so wonderful. And my grandfather was a famous drummer in Chin Lee, and he taught me and her how to dance side by side to his drum at their little house in Chin Lee. So that's how I started dancing, and that's how I got the hook into what I wanted to do. I never ever knew that I would be a ballet dancer, but I've been very lucky in my whole career because I was chosen to be in a company in New York City Ballet when I was 16. And I had stopped going to school at 13 because all I could think about was just dancing. And that's what my career led to. And I've been very fortunate and very lucky to have had that in my life.
Jock, how did this work out? You're 13 years old. Were you by yourself in New York City? Did you have anybody with you, a chaperone, or I mean, that just seems like like wow,
No,
like a 13-year-old kid just takes off.
I had four friends that I lived with in a small apartment, which happened to be in Edward Villela's building, and we were squatters, me and my best friend, and Eddie came upstairs and he heard movement because his chandelier downstairs kept on moving back and forth. So we would be practicing upstairs, and then he finally came up and he said, "What is going on?" And we were like, "Oh, we were just practicing some stuff," and he was like, "Well, who are these?" My best friend and I, Jefferson, we hid under the bed because we didn't want him to know that we were squatting. And so he finds us, obviously, and we get up and we stand up and we go, "I'm so sorry, we're so sorry. We just have nowhere to live." And he said, "Well, do you want to live here?" And we were like, "Yes, because these are our best friends, And and he said, okay, you have to pay this much per month. And I was making, I was given money from the Ford Foundation to live in New York and to go to the School of American Ballet and to future be in the company and all that stuff. And so I was making $250 a month, and he charged us $175 each. And so what we would do is we would all go eat hot dogs that were, 75 cents, or go to a pizza place around the corner, which was, 25 cents and stuff like that. So that's how we survived. It was just dance, dance, dance all day, and that's what I lived for.
This just sounds like one of those classic, just go all in on the dream, no holding back. Jock, when you got to New York City and you were just immersed in that dance culture, what was the biggest adjustment for you? And what really stood out is just, this is the big time of ballet here, the New York City Ballet.
The thing is that when I first went to the New York State Theater at Lincoln Center and there was New York City Ballet performing, I could not hold back. I was like, this is my life. This is my career. This is what I want to do. And when I got into the company, George Valentine cast me in my first role the first week I was in the company. And then he put me in my second role when I was in the company the next week. And I had no clue. I mean, I was 16. I didn't know what was happening. But the thing is that I lived to be on stage. And I never thought that someone like me would be going through this kind of business.
We're going to take a short break, and we will continue our conversation with Jock Soto, ballet dancer, choreographer, and former principal dancer with the New York City Ballet. Give us a call, 1-800-99-NATIVE. The Miccosukee tribe won a court victory over the construction of an immigrant detention facility in the Florida Everglades. The tribe is fighting the so-called alligator Alcatraz because it is on sacred ground. We'll hear from the Miccosukee chairman on what the area means to them and what's at stake in their legal fight on the next Native America Calling.
My name is Tammy, and I'm a member of the Little Traverse Bay Band of Odawa Indians. Smoking gave me heart disease. I used to think of cigarette smoking as something that only affected me. Then at just 44 years old, I had to look into my mom's eyes on the way into emergency heart surgery and tell her, Mommy, I promise I won't make you bury me. My tip is, think about the people in your life who love you. They go through the pain too, maybe even more than you do.
The people you love are worth quitting for. You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the CDC.
Thank you for listening to Native America Calling. We're speaking with Dene ballet dancer Jock Soto about his career, which will be celebrated this weekend in Santa Fe, New Mexico. At age 16, he joined the New York City Ballet and was the company's first indigenous principal dancer in 1985. If you have a comment or question for Soto, you can join us. Call 1-800-996-2848. 1-800-996-2848. And Jock, even now, today, 2025, there are still so few Native ballet dancers, and here you were back in the early 80s. And in addition to, like you described, living on hot dogs and $250 a month, what were some other early obstacles that you faced?
One thing I faced early on was that I did not know how to approach being gay, and then with what was happening in the 80s and the 90s with HIV and the pandemic and all that stuff at that time, I literally was going to a funeral every week because I didn't realize what this disease was. It was hard for me because I didn't know how to approach it, how to be affected by it, or how to. But the thing is that me and my good friend at the time, we fundraised so much money to help these people out, and that was our mission at the time. Because we didn't realize what was happening. You know, it's like the pandemic now. No one knows what's happening. No one knows how to deal with this. But we did one fundraiser, and we raised about $175,000 in one evening for these people that were sick. And that's where I found the power of giving back and doing what I could do for the community. Because New York and in the 80s and 90s, it was struggling for a lot of people. And I lost a lot of friends to AIDS. And I was just kind of like, how is this happening? You know? And I would call my mom, and I'd say to her, I don't know how I should deal with this. And she just said, Jock, just power on, because that's what we do. Mm-hmm. That's just how our lives are.
It sounds like your mother is just really, really supportive and instrumental in just your career all the way along.
When I said I wanted to start ballet, she found the only ballet school in Arizona. And they drove me there, my mom and dad. And the teacher at the time said to me, he said, he's the only boy that we have. So of course he's on full scholarship. And so we didn't have to pay anything. But my dad would drive me, 2 hours twice a week to this ballet school and just drop me off. And I'd be there for 4 hours. And that was heaven to me. It was heaven because I could just be in my own space. And I was the only boy among, 20 women. And I felt special, and I felt, okay, this is good. And my teacher was wonderful, and he just kept me by his side the whole time.
Now, Jock, I've heard you in other interviews say that your body is not an ideal body for a ballet dancer. Why do you say that? Why is that?
Well, compared to who I was standing next to in ballet class, or what I thought was what I should look like, I had big size. I'm a little shorter than other ones. I'm not as slim as these other dancers were or are still. And I thought, I can't compare myself to them. I just have to do my work. And that's what I did, And as I got older, I had to hire trainers. I had to hire therapists. I had to do all this stuff. And because I just needed to remain slim and the body type that's supposed to be on stage.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned George Balanchine earlier. He is the famed founder of the New York City Ballet. And here you were 16 years old. He chose you to join the company. What do you remember about that experience? And why do you think he chose you?
Oh, God, I can't tell you why he chose me, but I think what happened is that when I was in the school, he worked with me a couple of times, and he thought, okay, I think this guy's got something. And then when I got in the company, he used to call me the brown boy. He was like, I want the brown boy. And, at that point in 1981, you could say stuff like that. I mean, now you can't. Mm-hmm. But he liked me a lot. And I didn't like myself a lot because I didn't feel like I was worthy. But he chose me to do all this stuff, and then I worked with many other choreographers, Jerome Robbins and Peter Martins and Christopher Wheeldon. And I feel that I brought something to all that choreography because I have no ego. And I never did. And that's one thing that I say to my students and the people that I work with. I said, you cannot have an ego in this world. It just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you mentioned your students, Jock, because I know that this event coming up will also mark the creation of the Jock Soto Scholarship. And you have mentored several young ballet dancers. Tell us more about that, and what do you think is in store for the next generation of dancers, and how different is it now as compared to when you first started?
It's different because I'm back in New Mexico, and I've worked with so many incredible dancers, and what's great about working here is that I can actually work with dancers I have not met before, and dancers I can mentor, dancers I can teach what I know, and that's what's exciting for me. So for Saturday, I will be choreographing on two of my students live on stage. And then two more will do a piece that I've done before, and that's exciting to me because I just love to be in the moment, and I love to be challenging to them because they have no idea what I'm going to do, and they have no idea what music I'm going to choose, and that's exciting for me. I love that. And with both of these companies, it's just been really it's been challenging, and it's been really kind of cool to work with local artists and to work with Robert Mirabal and with Laura Ortman, and it's just been really kind of a cool experience for me.
Mm-hmm. Now, you also became part of the famed New York City art scene. You were photographed and painted by Andy Warhol. Tell me some of the highlights of your time in New York, and what was the Was there any? There must have been culture shock between having lived in Arizona and then living in New York.
The one thing about Andy was that he would come and watch us perform almost every night because I was dancing, 6 nights a week, and we would always get him seats where he could see everything, and then we got to know him, and he would come backstage, and people would be like, "Oh my God, that's Andy Warhol." And I was just kind of like, yeah. But for me, at that time, I was like, yeah, he's Andy. He's a friend of mine. And with people like Keith Haring and Bryce Martin and all those wonderful artists, they would come backstage and nobody really knew who they were, but they knew who Andy was because there he was in his wig. And, it was just something that happened. It was a very 80s thing,
Mm-hmm.
and we would just go out, and have dinner, and he'd usually invite us. And the first time he invited me to dinner, he said, his assistant called me and she said, "How many people are you inviting?" And I kept on calling her back, and I ended up inviting 21 people to dinner. And she laughed, and she said, "Oh, he's fine with that." And I was just like, okay, so I guess this is what it's going to be like from now on. So it was the 80s.
Yeah. Wow. Now, what's also exciting, Navajo Nation President Boo Nygren announced that August 23rd, tomorrow, will be Jock Soto Day. What does that type of recognition mean to you from the tribe?
I did not know that.
Oh, really? Okay. Newsbreaker here on Native American Calling.
That's fantastic. Oh, my God. Yeah, that's really wonderful. I think that that's incredible. I mean, I never expected anything like that. So thank you for telling me that.
Yeah, well, you bet. Yeah. Well, on your mom's side, you're Navajo, and your dad's side is Puerto Rican. And in a 2008 documentary, it's titled Water Flowing Together, you travel to both the Navajo Nation and Puerto Rico to reconnect with your heritages. Why was that important to you, and what stays with you from those two sides of your family?
Well, I identify more with my mother because we look completely alike. She died in 2006, and my dad died 10 years ago. And my father was very proud of me, and like I said, he would drive me 2 hours to ballet class. And it was a time when I thought I could never become anything. And then when I moved to New York and then became something, I owe that all to them. They believed in everything that I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've also shared the stage with some other interesting performers. Sesame Street's Big Bird. You've been on stage with Ray Charles. That must have been quite an experience. Are there any other performers that you wish you could have performed with?
No, because I performed with the best. Big Bird was a diva. He was such a diva, and I was just kind of like, oh my God, we were filming for like 8 hours one day, and I was just like, oh my God, is he gonna really just like be a diva all day? And he was. And then I thought, oh my God, I've worked with the best ballerinas in the world, and they're not as diva as he is. But he was Big Bird.
Well, tell me more about your style of dance in choreography. Because I'm thinking of there's different types of ballet dancers. What's kind of your specialty?
I don't have a specialty. I just do what I want to do in front of these dancers, and I lean more towards contemporary dance now because it's just more interesting to me, and I use the music that I want to. No one's telling me what to do, and that's what I prefer. No one telling me what to do, because that's how I grew up. I was told what to do all the time.
Is ballet really highly structured in a way that it makes it challenging to take that approach, do what I want to do, or have you found that dance companies are very receptive to that approach?
I think they're receptive now because I'm here in New Mexico, and they like what I give them. I think they like the music I choose. They will do anything I ask, and that for me is something that I really, really appreciate, especially with these two companies.
Mm-hmm. Jock, we're going to take another break here in about a minute, but I want to ask you, is there anything else planned for tomorrow night that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Okay, well, they're showing the film from the O'Keeffe Museum. I'm going to choreograph on the spot on two dancers, and then they're showing a piece that I did for Albuquerque Festival Ballet, and then we're going to have a big talk. Joel Alberts is going to talk to me, and we're going to talk to the audience, ask questions, do all that stuff, and that's what's going to happen. I believe that's all that's going to happen. You never know. I mean, I'm very spontaneous, so.
The International Museum of Dance celebrating the decades-long career of Diné ballet dancer Jock Soto this weekend in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It will take place Saturday, August 23rd at 6 o'clock p.m., and the location is the Lenzik Performing Arts Center in Santa Fe, New Mexico. We'll take a short break, and we will come back, and we will talk with Jerod Tate. We have him on the line as well, so stay with us. And we have the phone lines open for listeners to call.
Please send him my love. I can't tell you what's going to happen after that.
We've got to go to break, Jock. I'm sorry.
Don't coverage and art and our cross penate and don't not then I'm out to have second. Ask that and the Canadian on this healthcare.gov/coverage for now and that is to Yamakwa Bosawa show up to. Look here, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services don't up and you look an hour. Elaqua.
Feeling them real things that'll keep us around. Keep us around. Maybe it's sunshine, maybe it's rain. Whether the weather, whatever we're feeling, maybe makes it all the same. Maybe we don't know where the wild things are going. Maybe the wilds of our mind feed the tide and keep rivers flowing with them real things. Feeling them real things that'll keep us around. Oh, they keep us around. Living is costly, thinking is free, and maybe it's easy with you and
You're listening to Native America Calling. We're going to talk now with Jerod Tate. He is a Chickasaw composer who is part of a new album titled Woodland Songs. The album features music by him, Tuscarora and Taino singer-songwriter Purifé, and Czech composer Antonin Dvorak. If you're familiar with Jerod Tate's music, join us with a comment or question by calling 1-800-996-2848. Once again, that number 1-800-996-2848. And Jerod Tate joins us now. He is a classical composer and pianist. He is Chickasaw. Jerod, hello, and welcome back to Native America Calling.
It's good to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk on your radio show. This is great.
Absolutely. Did you hear as we were going to break, Jock Soto sends his love?
Yes, I listened to the whole interview.
Okay. All right.
I just love him. He's so great. It's really funny because they were talking about Sesame Street, and just yesterday I was showing Hiloha when Jock was on Sesame Street, and the Count was counting his pirouettes. So that was really cool.
I love it. Well,
so much fun.
Yeah, it sure sounds like it. Now, let's talk here about this album performed by the Dover Quartet. It's a collection of your own music, your arrangement of Purifé songs, and, of course, the romantic Czech composer Antonin Dvorak. What does this assortment all add up to, Jerod?
Oh, it's really a beautiful project, and I'm really grateful to be a part of it because there's actually a through line on all of this. First of all, both Purifé and I are both from woodland culture in the eastern part of the United States, and so we share, rattle songs, and this different styles of singing is all very similar. Also, our old traditional, regalia and everything. And so woodland people, there's a lot of similarities with woodland cultures in general, and so that's really nice that Purifé and I get to share a space on an album like that. And Dvorak was known for coming to the United States and trying to help the U.S. find an American sound, and he was. The best he could was kind of replicating what he was exposed to, but he was exposed to American Indians who were from the woodlands, and so there's a connection there as well, and that's what he was being influenced by when he was composing his works. Now, to be honest with you, it all sounds like Czech folk music because that's who he is, but his sentiment was to try to find an American sound that was steeped in Native traditions, and so that there's a really neat spiritual kind of concept there. So the three of us are now on the same album, and it's really cool.
It sure sounds like it. Now let's hear one of your compositions from the album. This one is titled Squirrel. Can you introduce it before we play it?
Yes. Funny. Okay, so the entire work is based on 5 of our woodland animals that we hold dear, and so I just happen to pick 5 different ones, and these are literally character sketches, and that are full of Chickasaw melodies, and of course very abstracted as well. But if anybody wants to kind of dive into the character of a squirrel, they're mighty and fast and unpredictable and lots of energy, and so that's what this work is about.
All right, let's take a listen. That was Squirrel, composed by Jerod Tate and performed by the Dover Quartet. And Jerod, I'll tell you what I really like about this piece is, well, I have a ton of squirrels where I live. They're running through my yard nonstop. They climb on my fence. So your description of them being mighty and full of energy, I totally get it. But I want to know, how do you approach characterizing animals like this into song? What's the process?
Oh, I guess, I just kind of put myself in their world. And I mean, I honestly, when I compose, I'm back in the homelands all the time. And so my mind and my spirit is in the woodlands of northern Mississippi. And I'm always thinking about our creatures that live in the woods and just all the personality and the sounds and the ethos and all that, all the activity that's going on. And so, I mean, the other pieces are bok the woodpecker and deer and fish and raccoon. And I think about our woodland animals a lot. And I love writing pieces about our animals. But, Indian country has just tons of stories about the animals from our, regions. And they're full of personality and they're complicated and they're so dynamic and robust. And there's so much in our stories of our animals. I just really love diving into it just emotionally and spiritually. It's a lot of fun for me.
Mm-hmm. Let's now play a song by Purifay, and this one is titled For the Pepper. We'll take a listen first and then we'll talk about it.
Great.
That was the song For the Pepper off the new album titled Woodland Songs. Jerod, that song is about the late jazz saxophonist Jim Pepper. Tell us how it got on the album.
Oh, correct. Yeah. Well, this is one of the songs in a suite of songs that Purifay composed for the group Eulali back, and this was on their album from 1994, the album called Impichchaacha. And so it's a suite that she created called Rattle Songs, and she dedicated one of the Rattle Songs to Jim. They were friends, and so that's the piece. So the whole suite is full of songs that Purifay she arranged songs that she had learned from her friends around North America, around Indian country from North America, and so this was an homage that she created to her friends. And so she seeded all these melodies in rattle songs that are traditional to Tuscarora culture. It's really beautiful. I mean, amazing work. She's brilliant. And so then I was asked to reorchestrate those rattle songs for string quartet. And so it's really cool because Purufe was modernizing ancient songs for her friends that she was dedicating them to. And then I got to modernize it for a string quartet and dedicate it back to Eulalie. It was just a really, really fun and special process. But that piece that, for the pepper, it's one of my favorite ones. I think it's fantastic. It's a brilliant piece.
Mm-hmm. And I can't remember if you mentioned this or not, but Eulalie, that's an indigenous trio.
Absolutely. That's Purufe, Jennifer Kreisberg, and Sonny Moreno. And they had their album that came out, the Makchi album, that really took the Indian country by storm. When I first heard that album, I actually heard the demo tracks back in the year before that. And when the album came out, it completely transformed me and my mission. I was like, everything I compose has to be at least as good as what Eulalie is doing. They set the bar so high for me. And their composing was absolutely amazing. And of course, then they became they sang the end track for Smoke Signals. When that came out, and so they toured this album like for a long time. So they were a really, really big deal, and they're great people and good friends of mine.
Jerod, what is it about composing for a string quartet that appeals to you?
Oh my gosh! Well, the string quartet is very much like a small orchestra, and it's you can write things that are both very intimate and very quietly poetic, and also highly symphonic in their sound. And not only that, but strings have all kinds of colors and textures that you can dive into. So if you notice on the Pepper song, there's very vocal qualities going on, and strings adapt to that. Strings can be extremely melodic and vocal, and they can also be very percussive and textural. There's so much in the quartet. So it's just like, giving Brent Greenwood a whole set of colors and be like, here's a whole bunch of fluorescence, go for it. And he just goes to town on it. And so that's what I feel like a kid in a candy shop of sound when I'm able to work with an ensemble like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then you infuse these Chickasaw melodies into these pieces too. How does that all work?
Oh, it's just like our native artists that you see like at Santa Fe Indian Market. So I'm being influenced and quoting my own tunes from my own tribe, but I'm also completely abstracting and modernizing, just like all native artists do, whether it's in painting or in choreography or like Joy Harja's poetry or Sterling Harja's filmmaking. We're all, abstracting materials that are steeped in our traditions. And so I'm doing the same thing with music.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, we spoke with Jock earlier, and I know your music will be featured at his performance tomorrow night. Tell us more about what's in store and other projects you're working on, Jerod.
Oh, well, hey, I appreciate that. This year I completed my opera called Shell Shaker, which was sung entirely in the Chickasaw language, and we premiered that here in Oklahoma with a cast of 5 native opera singers. And so that was a really, really important project. And just, oh gosh, it was wonderful. And they sang the heck out of it. It was incredible. And so I was able to premiere that. And then I premiered a work called the American Indian Symphony that sung in 6 different languages from Oklahoma as an homage to our different tribal cultures here that we have in Oklahoma. And that's going to be played again at the Bach Festival, the Bach Organ Festival next year. And then I've got a couple of works that I'm finishing right now. I just finished a piece that's sung in the Shawnee language that's going to premiere out at City Music Cleveland. And that's with the Muskogee soprano Kirsten Kunkel, who's going to be singing that. And then I've got a violin concerto coming out next summer, and then another work that is in Chickasaw by poetry by our language department chair, Josh Hinson. He composed poetry that's organically in Chickasaw, and I'm writing the music for that. That's going to premiere at Chicago in the spring. So I've got and then I've got another opera coming up that's going to be sung in the Cherokee language that will feature our Cherokee soprano, Caitlin Morton from Oklahoma. And so just lots of really, really cool, fun projects. I feel so blessed to be able to do all this.
Yeah, it sounds like you're going to be really busy for the next 12 months plus. Jerod, thank you again for taking the time to join us, and just best of luck tomorrow night. I hope everything goes fantastic.
Hey, I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'll have a great day, okay?
Absolutely. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, so we're going to have to wrap up this conversation, but I want to thank both of the guests who joined the show today, Jerod Tate and Jock Soto. And please join us again on Monday when we talk with Miccosukee Chairman Talbert Cypress about the tribe's legal fight to stop the construction of an immigration detention center dubbed Alligator Alcatraz. Our executive producer is Art Hughes. Our producers are Andy Murphy, Sol Traverso, and Joe Thompson. Marino Spencer is the engineer. Sho McPoland is the digital producer. Nola Daves Moses is the distribution director. Bob Peterson is the network manager for Native Voice One. Clifton Chadwick is our national underwriting sales director. Antonia Gonzalez is the anchor for National Native News. Charles Sather is our chief operations officer. The president and CEO of Koahnic Broadcast Corporation is Jacqueline Salee. Have a safe weekend. I'm Sean Spruce.
Support provided by Amerind. Amerind is 100% tribally owned and partners with tribes and their businesses to provide affordable commercial insurance coverage, protect tribal sovereignty, and strengthen Native American communities by helping to keep dollars in Indian country. Information about property, liability, commercial auto, and workers' comp available at amerind.com. That's AMERIND.com.
Yat nawa nlenigin reits isba hayaja bahat lehtoli elchine nlenigi aja bahat egot rayat eko ayat epe ayap kana wagot nadikin lenigi na holongot aya healthcare.gov/coverage aj abit din dota zan ebnahas ango Indian health provider da ipadina. A message from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
Native America Calling is produced in the Annenberg National Native Voice Studios in Albuquerque, New Mexico by Koahnic Broadcast Corporation, a Native nonprofit media organization. Funding is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting with support from the Public Radio Satellite Service. Music is by Brent Michael Davids. Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.